1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Divinely Uninspired Podcast, the podcast from Journey Church. And I'm here today with Jeremy.
Hello.
And Penny.
What happened to ladies first? You're supposed to say hey to me first.
All right. Welcome to another episode of the Divinely Uninspired Podcast with with the loudest lady of Journey Shepherdsville, Penny.
Hi, everyone.
And Jeremy.
Hello.
And the bulletproof, uncancelable Paul.
That's right.
And not only is she the only female, but she's also our elder. So
wow.
we need to
cancel culture happening right now.
Penny is a fine wine, though. So,
but they can turn at a certain point.
Yeah, there might be a little dust on the bottle, but she's more valuable now today than she's ever been. So,
You're very glad I have a good sense of humor.
yeah, well, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
That's why we got rid of April.
Oh, I bet we'll have to see if she listens to it.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, today we have a lot going on, but I wanted to do an icebreaker question. We never really start these, and I'll bring it up. Heaven help me with the screen where we're going to get going. But how clean do you all get your legs in the shower? How often do you wash your legs?
I don't ever, because I just assume the soap runs down your body and gets your legs, and so your legs and feet are covered.
All right. What about from a woman's perspective?
This is entertaining every time
No, why?
because
Don't look at me,
they're
I'm-
your legs.
Well,
Do you only wash half your car is the argument I heard.
yeah, but your car's not vertical. If it
Your
was vertical,
legs-
I would.
Okay, first of all, but your legs come all the way up, so you have to wash like the
They do come all
thighs.
the way up.
But you start with, because I don't have to do this. I do have to wash my beard, but I don't have to wash my head. I just, but I just start with the soap at the top and just assume it runs down your body. And then at your feet, there's like a pool of like soapy water. And so they're getting cleaned.
So if Jeremy were to take a washcloth, I guess, and exfoliate, he'd have like some...
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it's summertime. So 80% of my showers is me just jumping in the pool.
Pool
That's my
shower.
kids.
So
Yeah, there's bleach in it, right? And chlorine, and that's
I don't
stronger
put
than
bleach in
soap.
my pool.
Well, I mean, but chlorine is a bleach product. So what I'm saying is like, bleach is,
understand.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. All right. Well.
What about you, Paul?
Well, I don't want to get too graphic into it. I start at the top of the head and I get to the important stuff, and then I usually go to the feet and I give the feet a scrub.
Yes, that's good.
Unless I've cut grass or something like that and there's debris. And that is actually what the argument is stating, that 80% of people said yes, they wash their legs every time, but 20% of the people in the survey that they're talking about said nay. They don't wash.
Yeah.
They do what Jeremy does. They let it drip down. They let it, you get
Just
your soap.
to be clear, this says Men's Health.
Yes, this is Men's Health that is quoting. See, I took an important website though because it's for men.
Well,
And-
but I also wonder too. I mean, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, this poll has been used in several. They've quoted in several other websites, including Katie Couric's website, who is a known woman, and she said, and in that one, that you don't have, dermatologists agree that you don't have to wash your entire body every single day because it's good to get the oils built up. And just like we were talking about before the mics came on, that, your body takes care of itself in a lot of ways. Now there's, parts of us that smell. You really want to get a hold of those. But if your shin is smelling, I mean, what are you doing? So,
Yeah, and I think with it being the men's health thing, I guess the perspective would be from a woman's perspective. Like, men don't shave their legs unless they're like a swimmer or something. So like when you shave your legs, are you considering that cleaning your legs, or do you have
Absolutely.
to clean them? So yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference. Women treat their legs and different than men.
on the chance of coming off as highly sexist to start this episode, women should. They should shave their legs, and they should keep a nice presentation for men, because we like a nice smelling woman and no hair on the legs.
Paul is definitely...
I'm not gonna
wanting
lie.
to be-
So like 1 year we talked about camp, I guess 2 episodes ago. 1 year for camp, we did a thing where if we raised enough money, like I shaved my legs, and I did. And to be honest with you, it felt pretty awesome. Like
Yeah.
it was,
There's nothing better.
yeah.
I don't know about on a man, but
I mean,
like,
I haven't done it since. No, I mean, I was like feeling my legs. I'm just saying, like, it just actually like felt okay.
This conversation's taking
You're
a
like
turn.
a nice smooth man's
I can
leg
just
under
see
the
like
table
Jeremy
rubbing
being
on-
like rubbing his legs. It feels good.
No, like I didn't rub my own legs. I just remember being like, because I have I used to have hairy legs. They're not as hairy anymore. You get older, you start to lose that. But
That's true.
it's one of those
Your hair
things.
falls out of your legs when you get older.
Yeah,
is
the
that
older
true?
you get,
I did
yeah.
not. Whoa. calm down, everybody.
It all goes to your nose and your ears.
That's right.
That's fair. Yeah, we had this talk actually at dinner the other night because I have to trim my eyebrows. So
Yeah, I have to too.
people shave their legs. I have to trim my eyebrows, put a guard on it, and right across. It's
That
pretty
is-
easy.
Most guys do that.
Yeah.
Really?
Otherwise,
Yeah.
if I ever got kidnapped or was on an island for a while and I came back,
There's a whole thing
This
like
man
now
would be
like
wild.
about grooming for men. You know, the whole manscaped thing and all that.
All right.
So.
Well, that's good because that.
Paul didn't want to talk about that.
Well, I mean, if we want to talk
no,
about
I don't want to either.
All right.
I'm just saying there's a whole product line now for that.
Listen, I will tell you all about my grooming habits, but I don't think that's what you want to know about. So,
This is just turning uncomfortable.
well, that's good because it broke the ice and it leads us into the next thing, which is the phenomenon in America that is Barbenheimer that we kind of touched on before. But Penny has completed it and she's seen both movies now. You want to give us what do you think?
Are you asking which one is better?
Well, I mean, it's very subjective. We've learned as inside the church or online what people think about these movies, but what did you prefer?
So they're completely different genres, so it's not really fair to say.
You're telling me Barbie and Oppenheimer are different?
Shut up, Jeremy.
I'm
Listen,
thinking this is a cop-out answer.
You haven't seen...
I've seen either one of them.
I know, so you really have no say-so in this, in which they are. But they're good movies. Both of them are really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Barbie's pretty good. It might beat out Oppenheimer. I'm pretty sure it does, actually.
Now-
Don't hate me.
No, I won't hate you. I would love to see Oppenheimer. I have not yet because it's a hard one to get childcare for because that's at least a 5-hour.
And it's made a little different. The way that it's directed is that there's 2 different times within the movie.
Oh, easy. Listen,
Okay, so it's...
we're all familiar with Christopher Nolan's madness.
Yes, so it kind of does that a little bit. And also, I will tell you this, because Terry and I are old and we use subtitles at home when we watch movies. It was really hard to hear, everything that was happening in it.
Do you know why?
No.
Are you
Are you talking about Barbie or Oppenheimer?
he does not.
Oppenheimer. No, I was making a joke. I mean, Oppenheimer was hard to understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
He is not. He's on record, Christopher Nolan, the director, as he does not like to re-record dialogue. He likes whatever's going on in the moment, and he doesn't have the actors come in and do it again in post to make it better. So I've heard that it's hard, but
I would have preferred subtitles.
yeah, well,
It's very difficult. Well, also, too, it's a lot of scientific, just a lot going on.
You can get subtitles. You can go to the theater with that
that would
the
have been
mirror
me.
thing. You know what I'm talking about? Like they have it in the back.
Yeah. You kind of need it with this movie.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take in.
well,
It's good, though.
yeah.
Very good.
But you think it might have been surpassed by?
Barbie's really good, y'all.
Listen, I agree. I've seen it, and from a man's perspective, I think it's great. It might be. I hate to say it. It might be the best movie I've seen this year. If you really think about it.
I agree. Jeremy's like, I'm not.
I'll
doing
see it, but I'm not going to go to the theater to see it.
Well, here,
That's not. You need to go to the movies.
Why? I mean, I do like going to the movies, but why would I want to go see Barbie in the movies? I like to go see actually, no, I will see the movie. What I'm saying is I like to also watch movies from the comfort of my home on my couch. And now movies come out, from the time they're in the theater to the time they're streaming somewhere, it's probably, 90 days is the average now. So wait 3 months and you're good to go.
that might not be the case for Barbie because it's making all the money worldwide. It's already made more than $1 billion, being the first female-directed movie that's made $1 billion. With no spoilers, but there doesn't seem to be a point for a sequel. I don't know if they'll try to cram one in. But from a boy's perspective, that movie, there's a lot of people online that are mad about it. And, I mean, movies are very subjective. You don't have to like it. If you're angry about Barbie, you're kind of a dork. So I'll just get out of the way. You can send any emails to Paul at Journey Shepherdsville about that. But it does for little girls, I think, what the dolls did for little girls years ago. You can do anything. It kind of shows you don't have to be one way. You can be whatever you want to be. And it's just a movie saying that. So I don't understand all the backlash, to be honest, because it wasn't political. It wasn't heavy-handed until the end.
I didn't grow up with Barbie. I didn't play with Barbie dolls at all.
Oh, I didn't realize you were that old, Penny. Where was the Barbie doll?
Shut up. It wasn't my style. So, and you wouldn't catch me in pink, growing up.
She played
Absolutely
with
not.
Bratz dolls.
Actually, the Brat dolls are in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, they are.
I was too busy focused on Midge.
Midge was pretty great.
Yeah.
They had all the discontinued Barbies in there. It was really good. The storyline behind it, the meaning behind it. I recommend seeing it. If you watch it at home, great. But I will say go see Oppenheimer in the movies.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
I was going to watch that on my phone when it comes out. That's really the way it should be seen, right?
Right, yeah. With the
8-inch screen. Yeah.
With the little bitty screen.
Well, so Barbie had it did sort of what the Lego movie did, where it took a toy and somehow made a compelling story that was It was like, oh, it's deeper than just the toy. Like it's fathers and son bonding in Legos, and this one, it's little girls can just do whatever, and it's not a movie for boys necessarily, but it's nothing that it's not exclusive where we can't get into it and watch it. And the funniest thing to me was the women next to me, they were all dressed up. They were having their girls' night out and could not stop crying and just laughing. They were, I don't know why I'm crying, but they were all.
Girls can't do anything except for be the president and play compelling basketball.
It's funny when they try.
I'm kidding.
Isn't it, though? Yeah.
I'm totally kidding.
Fundamentals.
I just wanted to hate on Barbie for a second.
Wow.
Yeah.
But so speaking of that, what did you cry during the movie, Penny?
No.
No.
Wasn't that serious.
Are you a crier at all during movies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the last movie. It was probably related to a dog, though.
Marley and Me.
Marley and Me
the
gets me
worst.
every. My Dog Spot or My Dog Skip. Remember that movie?
No.
Oh, you need to watch that.
Listen,
It's a
if I
crying
get a
movie, too.
sniff of a dog dying from the start of the movie, just turn it off.
Yeah,
That's just-
I'm done.
Yeah, Marley and Me was awful, and then a dog was it called like A Dog's Purpose or A Dog's?
Oh, that one too.
Yeah, those were both terrible.
I know.
we have a lot of trouble at our house because me and my daughter are both criers. So my wife is not. Although she teared up during Barbie, really that monologue got her the big whatever about what women can do.
Oh.
But
Did it say except for play at the NBA?
it was
president.
it was assumed. There was no basketball Barbie in the thing.
And just for all the ladies,
doctor.
I'm clearly kidding.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's got his fingers crossed right now, though. So
No, I think women can be anything they want to be.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
that's cute. So anyway,
I guess I have to back up that statement a little bit. But
what was the last movie you cried during, Jeremy?
last movie I cried during. When did Marley and Me come out?
It's been a while.
Man.
What? No. So, I'm trying to say the only two movies I can actually remember crying in was Marley and Me, and then I saw the movie with Tom Hanks where it's about Mary Poppins saving
Mr. Banks.
Mr. Banks,
Yeah.
and I saw that like legitimately like 2 weeks after my dad died, and there's a scene in that movie that just like triggered all that. So it wasn't even the movie; it was just like that moment that brought all that back. So, but honestly, Marley and Me was probably the last movie that like I was like, yeah, because I love dogs and yeah.
Well, Jeremy had to qualify why he cried during the movies. It's okay. I can't.
No, I mean, like I'm not saying I don't cry. Like everybody cries, but like I just don't. I don't know.
There's several Pixar movies that I can't watch, especially Inside Out.
Yeah.
But I mean, I teared up at the end of Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox movie. So I'm not
No.
one to. Yeah,
I'm trying to think. Trying to be. I can't remember one that I openly like did that in.
What about My Girl?
I didn't see My Girl.
Oh, My Girl always.
Oh,
gets
is
me
that the
too.
one from the kid where she
Yeah.
dies?
He needs
yeah.
his glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He dies. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was sad, but I don't remember crying.
Oh man, I remember hiding it because I was in the theater with other boys. Tough. Well, I wish this Barbie movie would have come out when we were kids.
You were like, what, like 8?
10, maybe.
But,
I don't know.
and I'm not trying to say like I don't think there's movies that have gotten to me. Like I get choked up, but like to actually like cry, that's a different.
You need
like,
to- we need
I
to
get
Google
choked
this.
up. I mean, I get choked up when I preach sometimes. Like, but like to actually like tears come out. Like, no, that doesn't happen very often at all.
I mean, I firmly remember at our house, Toy Story 3 at the very end, and me and Addie were just watching it, and my wife was like, I'm going to bed. This is ridiculous. What's wrong with you two? So
I think what messed me up was watching Transformers when I was a kid, and they killed Optimus Prime. And just from then I've just been cold.
found out the,
Yeah.
the world was cold early. What about the end of G.I. Joe when we were kids and they killed
Yeah,
brother? Oh, man.
yeah.
It was tough stuff.
That and Bambi. I watched Bambi and Transformers pretty close, and
I kind of like Bambi. They didn't give you that sniff of a dead mother. They just started
Yeah.
out with it. Guess what? Mom's
Yeah.
dead.
Inside Out is listed as one of the best cry movies.
I've watched it once. And
What's
it will not be
Inside
watched
Out?
Again. The little girl's emotions in her head, and then she's becoming a young woman, and
is this a Pixar movie?
yeah,
I think I
Yeah.
saw it.
she doesn't want to be.
Or is this where like the emotions are in her head and they're like controlling her life? Or no?
Well, you just see what she thinks in her head, but they're
Yeah.
each
They're like
emotion's
little
a character.
characters. Yeah.
That
Okay.
little dinosaur person she forgets about. Oh,
The Lion King.
I might cry here.
Oh,
thinking about
Coco. That gets me.
it. Oh, yep. Coco got me.
Coco
Yeah.
was weird.
What? It's a great movie.
No, I think it was good. It was just weird.
It was about a father who, even though he's dead, is doing everything he can to see his daughter one last time. Oh,
Steel Magnolias. That gets me too. Okay, we're done.
goodness, still Magnolias. All right. Well, that really took a turn, as it does.
Is still Magnolia's the one with Dolly Parton?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't cry on that, but I remember that movie.
Yeah. Well, there's no more screen for this because heaven help us what we would type in and find on the screen. So today's topic, we are getting into something a little more than we usually get into. Maybe we'll see where it goes and we'll see what gets cut out. But we are talking about cancel culture. So it was very vague when I sent out the message of what we were going to talk about because I wanted to see everybody's thoughts and everybody's how they would respond to this. So let's start with Jeremy. What do you think about cancel culture?
I don't like it.
No.
Yeah. I don't like it because I don't like a lot of things that are nameless and faceless. Like, it's a cultural phenomenon, but it's like, who's doing the canceling? Like, does that make sense? Like, it just seems like it just is this big thing that like everybody's scared of, but like nobody can put their finger on exactly what it is. Like, people are in fear. They're always going to be canceled. And it's like, I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's like, you're always afraid you're going to be canceled because of something you either have said or something you could have said in the past. And I think that's the part where I don't like it, is like, I think about like every human being has said things in the past that if it became public that you said it, like not just celebrity, I mean, everybody, and I think that's the problem I have with it, is that, at any point in time, and that's also like, honestly, like if people follow me on social media, I don't ever post. Like, I'll post pictures every once in a while, but I never post opinions. I never post on Twitter. I hardly ever retweet anything because I'm just like, who's to say I don't retweet this guy? And then 5 years down the road, he ends up being something. And then people are like, oh, Jeremy. So like, I don't know. Does that make sense? I think it's just, I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, how do you virtue signal then, Jeremy, if you don't post online? You just have to live a life that reflects your beliefs instead of just yelling.
Yeah. I don't, yeah. Well, yeah, that and just, I don't care. Like, I don't care what most people think. So I also live with the opinion of like, why would I care? Like, what I think about certain things. Like, I don't know.
Well, that is the opinion of a reasonable person, which is not what the internet is for. So you stay off the internet. We don't need you for that. What do you think about cancel culture, Penny?
So cancel culture is the idea of someone going against something that's not like normal in society, right? Like, that's the idea of why they start to cancel. They pick people and they'll just nitpick. But some people may really need to be canceled, right?
No, I'm not saying people don't need to be canceled. I'm saying the culture of it, where it's become this big thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain things, like if you publicly say things that are racist and you have a platform, you should be canceled. Like, I don't 100%. That's not an issue with me. It's everything is on the chopping block. I mean, you do one thing that somebody doesn't like, and then, it's like mob mentality. Like, then all of a sudden it just grows and grows and grows. And then all of a sudden it's this big thing. And then also, like, even with like, even things we should be against, like racism and stuff like that. Like, there have been people that have said things accidentally, or like, I know like there was a guy recently that was on, because I'll call it Barstool Sports, and I can't remember like the exact context, but he was like online, like doing a rap song. So like, he was rapping the rap song online. And then of course he said the word that none of us should ever say, but he said it, and it was like canceled immediately, and it was like, you could tell, like, as soon as he said it, like instant, like regret, like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? And of course then he got canceled. And it's like, yeah, you're an idiot. Yeah, you never should have put yourself in that context. I'm 100% on board with that. But just to cancel the guy because he made a simple, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just an idiot
No, I agree
decision.
with you. I agree with you.
That's the part that bothers me about it, is that any point in time, people can hold every single thing that you've ever said against you, and it's like, yeah, you probably should have said some of that stuff, but if we live in that world, then who's safe? I mean, all of us have said something at some point or done something that was dumb.
Well, that's the question. Who started this? Did we do it with social media? Like, just in general, just the general public of an idea that we have an opinion on everything?
And that's why I don't like it, because we don't know where it came from. We don't know who it is. You don't know. I mean, you could get canceled by anybody at any moment, and all it takes is them building enough momentum behind this thing, and people, they're like, even, I don't want to get into all this, but like, you hear people talk about stuff and you're like, you don't even know what you're talking about. Like, and then depending on what news feed you follow or what your stream is like on your social media, these things will pop up, and then you're retweeting it, and you're commenting and you're sharing it. And half the time the stuff that you're sharing or commenting on, to be honest with you, you don't even know if it's true or not. There's just like this buildup of like, and it just gets crazy. Well, now, again, I do think certain things need to be canceled. Like, I don't use the word canceled. I think there are certain things that need to be addressed, and there are certain people that should probably lose the platforms they have because of their thoughts, feelings, and opinions. And I'm not even against people having opinions about things, but it should be an educated opinion, which means if you're going to comment about it, or you're going to tweet it or share it, you should know if this is true, number one, and number two, like, do we know this really happened in the way that it's being said that it happened?
Well, I have things on both of those. So Penny asked who started it, and it seems like when I looked up Christianity and cancel culture, a lot of the blame gets placed on evangelicals because before the internet days when...
Oh, but yeah, if you're talking about Christianity cancel culture, we're the worst.
But just in general, as far as like it used to be, boycotts, and they would get together and say, hey, we don't like what this company represents, and we're going to just stop giving them money, which to me, I'm like, hey, you know what? Everybody has their opinion. If you're going to back it up, that's great. This to the second point, I don't think Elon Musk can run Twitter in the ground any faster for me because it has always been just a cesspool of just ignorance, and people used to have to earn a platform. Yeah. I don't want to sound like I'm 1,000 years old, but back when we were kids, you actually had to do something or be somebody before anybody cared about your opinion. And now you just get on your phone and start spouting off whatever ridiculous thought you have, and people go, "Oh, this guy is smart." And
and I think that's like, to back that up, like that's like the influencer thing. That's why I'm so against the influencer world. Is it's because you haven't done anything, you haven't, and I'm not like one of these guys. Like, I thought it was very offensive when a couple years ago somebody said something about like LeBron James, like just dribble and play basketball, like. He's allowed to have his opinion, and to be honest with you, a guy like that has probably earned somewhat of a platform like LeBron James. Now, that said, I don't necessarily know if he needs to have an opinion on everything that gets publicized because, if I want to know some information, I'm going to go to either the source or I'm going to go to somebody that I feel like knows something about that. I'm not just going to take whatever everybody's saying about whether it's a celebrity or not. But I think that's the influencer danger is you have all these people that haven't earned the platform, and yet they'll speak on things. And I'm not on a lot of social media. I actually got on Instagram probably like a year ago because I didn't know I had an Instagram, but apparently I do. And I'm not going to lie, there's some pretty funny videos on Instagram, so I'm kind of addicted to it right now. But I don't get on there. I don't post. I don't like really look at people's pictures or stories or whatever's on there. But there are some funny videos on there. But like some of these influencers I have seen that come across my feed, is it's like you're known for being like a makeup tutorial person, but then you're on here like giving your opinion about this recent event that happened. And I'm like, no, like those are like, yes, you have so many thousand followers or whatever, and you influence in this product, but that doesn't mean that you get to speak. And then those people, because they're influenced by you and believe you and trust you, now that's their opinion on maybe those issues. And that's the part where I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, that's why I don't like it.
Well, I mean, that's a fair stance on that. What do you got to say, Penny? You
want to go through some, see whether or not that you agreed, whether or not they should have been
canceled?
Well,
no, yeah, we could do that in a second. But I think, I think part of it is, so for me, like when I saw we were talking about this, like, of course, anybody that knows me or really knows me knows if I'm going to talk about something, I'm going to research it a little bit. So, like, hang
on.
Yeah.
If anybody knows Jeremy and really knows him deep down, and you know about his secret Lizzo tattoo that he got that he's regretting now. So.
Yeah, no, all right, so let's open that can of worms. So, like, I think that's part of it too. Like the Lizzo thing. If you don't know, I mean, you can look into it. So she's getting.
I wouldn't.
She's getting canceled right now. Well, the problem that I have with her is she was part of this movement of canceling other people a couple years ago because of their, her. What people were saying about like her body or she should, And again, I don't think those people should have said that about her because they don't know her. Like, and she's allowed to be who she wants to be, so to speak. But then now all of a sudden it's like flipped and she's getting canceled and like now she's all upset about it. And I'm like, glass houses here, like everybody's watching. And so you got to be careful about this stuff. But I think that's part of it too, is just nobody wants to be held accountable, but then we just want to attack everybody. And it's a bad mix, And I think when I was looking this up, I was thinking, I don't know if you guys ever seen this. I think it was Harvard. I should have looked this up, but it was Harvard or somebody that did a study several years ago where they had everybody, they started with, they had 15 people in this elevator and everybody faced the back wall, right? And then people would get into the elevator and it was like 90% of the people like look around for a second and then they would turn and face the back wall. Like that was normal. Like that's what we do. And I think this cancel culture thing has grown to the point where people just think this is what we do, even though it's wrong, and it's like, it just has grown and grown and grown to where now people get sucked into it. And they're just like that person that even though they know like, okay, this is messed up. This is weird that everything's like this. Like they just face the back wall because that's what everybody else is doing. So,
well, yeah, that thing. And we'll see how this pans out with Lizzo. I'm interested this from, like, I'm a big podcast person and I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, and they are very anti-cancel culture, but to the point where I'm not sure after watching the last few years that people, when we're saying getting canceled, it's like when we tried to find out what the word woke meant. It means different things to different people. So like Lizzo might lose some fans and she'll lose some money, and we'll see how, her next album does when it comes out. But it seems like a lot of people have done things where they've gotten canceled, and it turned out that they have almost really just found a niche in an audience because they've said something, and then they're not for everyone anymore, and they don't get to tour for a little bit, but then they come back and the people who still support them are 10 times as fervent for them. So,
well, and I think that is a big point too, is that sometimes cancel culture backfires. Like there's been, I don't even know the controversy, and I'm sure with our listening audience, they probably do, but I don't even know the context of this Jason Aldean stuff, but I know that like he came out with a song, people were offended by it. Well, then there's a certain audience that's like, no, like that's what we believe. Like we believe in this song. And again, I haven't listened to it. Don't really know much about it. I mean, I don't listen to most country. There's, a few artists I listen to. But that's the thing is like, well, even like my favorite artist, Tyler Childers, just came out with a music video that's controversial. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. Yeah, some people were canceling him. He also picked up a whole lot of new fans because of that, and so it's like some people want to cancel, but then you're also, like you said, you're picking up this other audience that now is like, oh no, this person believes or supports what we support. And so sometimes it's like, I don't know, it just seems like we're spinning wheels.
Yeah, it's the Jason Aldean thing. I don't even know.
I don't know anything about it other than people got all upset about it.
I know a lot about it, and it's there's no good side of it, but just don't listen to new country music. It's all bad.
Yeah.
So that's I like the Barbie movie. I don't like country music after, let's say, 95. So
there's a solution to all this. If you don't want to listen to it, don't listen to it.
I mean,
do you have to tell everybody that they should not listen to it?
Not only don't listen, you can't. Those people are not allowed to speak anymore, Penny. That's what cancel culture wants.
Well, and that's the other side of cancel culture is not only does that person get canceled, but anybody that supported that person can get canceled because you're like, no, I still like this person. Yeah, that was stupid. They shouldn't have done that. And that's the thing. There are people like, Tyler Childers is a great example. There are things that I know. I love Tyler Childers as an artist. And there are things that I know that he stands for or believes that I don't. But I don't ever feel like the need to be like, I just don't either listen to the stuff that I don't agree with or don't watch it. Or if I do watch it, I'm like, oh, well, that's his take. And then I just move on with my day. I don't need to get all up in arms about any of it. I just go, okay, well, that's not necessarily what I believe or think or feel, but that's okay. Whatever.
I get it. You can still watch your Cosby Show DVDs at home, but don't,
I will say, man, that one hurt maybe the worst for me. I was a huge Cosby fan. I went and saw him. I seen him 4 times live.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
And I saw his most recent probably was, I don't know, so 2000, whenever all this happened, it was like 2 years before he came to Louisville, sold out the Palace. He comes and sits on a chair. He was an older guy, sits on the chair for 2.5 hours, just talks. And it was, doesn't take a break. He just talks for 2.5 hours. And it's just like you're sitting on the edge of your seat, just waiting to hear what he has to say next. And then all that came out and you're just like, oh gosh, that's bad.
Now, I'm going to turn to Penny real quick. Did we have this discussion on the last podcast?
We did. I think Jeremy must secretly send fan mail to prison to Bill Cosby.
I do love Bill Cosby, but I don't remember having this. But
that would.
It's also been a hard week. So
I didn't know if we had talked about this on the podcast or before we started recording last week, but we've had this exact.
I thought we talked about it before we started recording.
That might be, but
we'll have to see.
It was very much. Hey, enjoy it again. It's no less.
You brought up Cosby Show, so I went on my riff.
It did hurt me the most as well because that was such a part of my childhood.
I agree. He should have been canceled if what he did is true.
But see, that's not. So to me, if we're going to get into this, that's not a cancelable offense. That man should be in jail. So
yeah,
even if one of the accusations is true, he should be done. But he's not really. And if you were on, X a few years ago when he got out, there were people that were still supporting him.
Isn't it kind of strange though to think about that? Michael Jackson never got canceled.
Well, he kind of did.
Did he?
Yeah.
They still play.
Well,
his
but
music.
the other thing about Michael Jackson, and I think this is to Paul's point earlier. Everything happened pre-social media. Yeah. So everybody had an opinion, but it wasn't out there, and that's what PR firms and all those things. You can hire people to what was that movie a couple years ago? Michael Clayton. I don't know if you guys saw that with, it was really good with George Clooney, where he's like a fixer. So like you have all these people, politicians, celebrities that do stuff, and then he goes in and fixes it and makes it almost like it didn't exist. Well, with social media, the moment something comes out, it's already been shared 20,000 times within the first 10 minutes. So you can't really hide stuff anymore. Like it's out there. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people pre-social media probably got away with a lot of stuff that allegedly they should have been canceled for, but they just didn't because, yeah.
Well, so from, what brought it up with the thought in general was when we were coming back from camp with my daughter a few weeks ago, we were listening to the new John Crist special, and he kind of touches on it because he is a pretty famous Christian comedian that got canceled in quotes, and he brings it up in his special about he laughs kind of about it about, I'm not going to get canceled again, so I can kind of say whatever I want. But that would be to Penny's what she was going to talk about earlier, as far as like he was a Christian and he made some, calling them bad choices seems to undersell what was going on, but
we have actually discussed him on the podcast before and whether or not he should have been canceled. And I can't remember. I was there for that. No, I don't think you were, but it was an interesting conversation about from a woman's perspective and from a man's perspective, because what was the issue? I think like he had an inappropriate
he was so part of
womanizing.
He was womanizing. So part of it was he was bringing women, backstage. Now the bigger issue was at the time when he was to believe a comedian, an athlete, a musician is bringing women or men backstage, like you're probably just like, okay. The problem with him was he was a Christian comedian, so he's supposed to have these values and morals. Secondly, most of his venues at that time was churches. So it wasn't like he was playing, Freedom Hall and taking a girl in the back room. Like that means he's taking a girl like in somebody's office,
right?
Or like the deacon's room or whatever.
It would have been the streaming room here because that's where all the mess.
So that was like part of it too. Was the shadiness of it? Is like you're not only doing this and you're on the stage presenting this. He was. I wouldn't say he's controversial, but controversial for a Christian comedian, but still clean, and presenting a lifestyle. And then behind the scenes, he's, bringing in the pastor's daughter.
It was like your Ichthus issue where the people are saying one thing and then off mic they're doing.
Well, I think with John Crist, it was consensual, because another one of my favorite comedians is Louis C.K., Yeah. And so, Louis C.K., he got in trouble because they said that some of the stuff he was doing was forced upon these people. But if it had been consensual, nobody would have ever even said anything about Louis C.K. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. With John Crist, it was all consensual, apparently, whatever was happening, but it was just the platform he had doesn't support that. Does that make sense?
But we set higher standards for those. Like I do. I set higher standards. I expect more out of those people than I would a celebrity. Like, do we show them as much grace as the other person, or like, hey, no, you're done?
No, but he's bounced back. I went and saw him in Cincinnati like a couple months ago, and he did a stand up. And he
John
was
Crist.
Yeah, John Crist. Oh. So I went and saw him in Cincinnati. I didn't cancel him personally. I did not cancel him, but he also did. And this is where I think at the end of his comedy special, he gets up for about 5 minutes and he talks about. And I actually don't believe it was a cop out. Like he talks about like he was addicted. Like it wasn't like he had been exposed to things as a child, and those things had formed this pathway for him. And so he talks about that he went to rehab, and he, so part of it was like he's owning up to what he did, So again, I don't know.
Well, so that was the issue that a lot of the comedians have, is that if you say you're canceled, like Louis C.K. was one. I wasn't going to bring up names because if you start looking into what they did, he did some gross stuff and he's admitted it. And there were several comedians, though, that have done just blatantly illegal things that are kind of hearsay, that it seems like a well-known secret, almost like Cosby and things they've done. But they're all kind of lumped into the same, these people got canceled because of whatever. And comedians don't like that because their whole career is based on being able to, say what they want and do what they want. But their issue is there doesn't seem to be a path back if you get canceled. And so, other than, you niche down into your, whoever still supports you, but you've done something wrong, you've said something incorrect, and people there's a big segment of society that just says, you're done forever.
Yeah.
But is there no path back? I mean, what do you think about that?
No, I mean, I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I did it right. So, like, one of my favorite scenes from Ted Lasso, so we got to bring it back, is if you haven't seen it yet, you should. It's been a couple months. Is at the end when, obviously the arc, if you haven't watched it, season 2 leading to season 3, is that Nate betrays Ted. So there's this moment where, like, he's really hurt this person. He's backstabbed this person. He's made a lot of bad choices, done a lot of bad things. And so Ted, of course, is like wanting to move on and is wanting to forgive Nate. And then, of course, his best friend, Coach Beard, whose name is Willis, is like, completely against Nate, because he's hurt his best friend or whatever. And, of course, there's this great line where Ted Lasso looks at Nate or at Beard and he says, "I hope that either all of us or none of us are judged by the actions of our weakest moments, but rather the strength we show when and if we ever get a second chance." And to me, that was like the best line maybe of the show, because I'm just like, we all have had weak moments where we did and said things that were bad, and so either we all have to be judged by that or none of us should be judged by that. Like, I love that mentality of like, either, okay, we're going to say it across the board. Like, yeah, some of these people have public platforms, and so we take it more seriously. And then even the platform, which I think is the bigger thing, of so much of this has become political. Because if you're conservative and you are in that realm and you do something, some sex scandal, some drug scandal, I mean, it's the biggest deal in the world, the left side. Same side. If you're on the left side and you do something, the right wing wants to, and it's just like, we should all be judged on kind of the same thing. Like, what they did was wrong, regardless of their politics or whatever. What they did was wrong. And some people do need to be canceled, and there should be consequences like prison and things like that for some of these people's choices. I do believe that. But then also we have to be willing, are we going to give that person a second chance, to prove themselves? And I hope that we all get second chances, Now, if they blow that second chance, then we're just done with them.
And I mean, I will
cancel.
I'm so happy that, I went through college without social media for the most part. MySpace was rocking, but nothing that, no thoughts of a budding young Paul that needed to be out into the world too much. So with that being said, we're going to get up on our high horses and we're going to judge these things that Penny has brought up of.
Oh, here we go.
All right.
The Duggars.
Oh, canceled.
Canceled.
Which, all of them, yeah. Joe Bob can get out of here.
Yeah. And I don't think they need to be
Jim
canceled.
Bob.
I just think that, again, and that's the hard part, I just think there needs to be accountability. But, I mean, I never watched them to begin with, so I was kind of canceling them to begin with.
Well, that is a good point, that canceled or accountable, if, people need to own up, I think sometimes, and that's instead of you're done, just say, hey, people being able to be humble or show humility and say, maybe what I said in the past or have done in the past was not my best work.
And maybe that's a better way to view cancel culture, is you give somebody the chance to be held accountable, and if they don't want to be held accountable, then we cancel them. But you got to give them the chance to own up to it and say, that was dumb. And then,
Yeah.
Okay, here's the next one. All right, Kanye West.
Oh, I'm going to cancel.
I mean, the last 10 years cancel. The first 10 years were pretty great.
Here's the thing about Kanye West. He was on my list of things that I wasn't sure we'd talk about. I have not personally enjoyed his music for quite a while.
But The Wire was great.
But the things that he said, he is so clearly someone who, much like Britney Spears, has got some kind of
he's mentally
bipolar.
Ill.
He needs help, but he is rich and famous enough and talented enough when he's on his manic side that he's beyond reproach with people around him, because no one wants to say, hey, bud, we just need to talk. You need to calm it down. And it's such a train wreck. People keep putting him on TV. And I mean, it's hard to say like the Duggars should be canceled and Kanye West shouldn't be so blatantly, but he probably does not need, for his own safety and own sake, to be near microphones.
His platform, so I agree, his platform needs to be canceled. Yeah. Like, that's what needs to be canceled. Not him as a person. I think he does have mental illness of some degree.
Yes, he does.
But his platform should be canceled so he doesn't keep doing this to himself.
Okay, one more person before I ask these other two. Roseanne Barr.
I don't know enough about her situation. I never liked her to begin with.
Well, yeah, I was never a fan of the show Roseanne. My wife was as a child growing up. I don't love what happened to her on her show when it came back, and she was saying insensitive things on Twitter and was blaming it on Ambien. But now she has gone like a full. So she has done what comedians and other people seem to do, where they say, and then this is not me being political. This is what has happened based on the things people say. They say something offensive, and the left really is now kind of the pushers of this person shouldn't speak anymore. So when someone says something that even would be a left-leaning person says something that's offensive, they get canceled, and then there are people on the right that embrace that. And so she has gone full political, other side, she's bad news.
But not enough to be canceled, I don't think.
I mean, she got her episode of the podcast where she was saying offensive things. They took that down.
I didn't know that.
So it's a Theo Vaughn podcast, and she said something offensive on it. The whole podcast got removed from Spotify. And then Elon Musk, who has also done a similar thing where he has said so many stupid things that people on one side are like, we're done with him. He said, come to Twitter, say whatever you want.
I guess too, part of it with me would be like, with like Roseanne, who cares if she gets canceled? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know any Roseanne.
Is it fair? I guess that's the question.
I don't know if it's fair or not, but I'm also like, who's really getting all up in arms that Roseanne got canceled? So that's the thing now,
like, well, in the comedy world, people are like, we should be able to say whatever we want, even if it's offensive. But now with her saying more, the offensive things that she is saying is getting her a new round of fans where she's becoming relevant, but for the wrong reason. Not for being funny, but for now.
And I think with comedy, of course, I'm not a comedian, but I think they got to be careful with that, because I do think that you should be able to say whatever you want to say. This is going to sound weird, in a show, when they like clearly know like you're there for a comedy show. But if you're just like at a Burger King saying this stuff, like that's a different context to me. I think that's part of the issue with some of this is the context of it of, if you go to a comedy show and you get offended by a comedian, well, first of all, that's what they're trying to do half the time anyway, is just offend somebody. And they're also doing a shtick most of the time. Like, that's not necessarily how they feel. That's just, it's funny to them. That's what they do. So I think that's got to be like in the context sometimes of when some of these comedians say stuff, like they're doing it in the context of this is a comedy show. Like, this is not real. Well, but then like I said, if you're just like saying it like walking through Costco, well, then that's like
don't say it walking through Costco.
Well, so for any older listeners, that was kind of the point of All in the Family, the show in the 70s, where they were clearly putting on a character of this is like a racist old man, but the point of the show was he's wrong.
Right.
But there were people who were like, heck yeah, finally someone's saying what we believe. So it was like, it's kind of gotten to a point, and I think it's a lot to do with social media, where then people start circling the wagons, and this guy's out over here, but the other side's like, this guy's racist.
So do you think, okay, go ahead.
Well, I think people, if your income is tied to your followers, and people go, well, this group of people clearly like what I'm saying, even if I don't believe it, I can lean into this and I can sound terribly racist and I'm bulletproof and the money's coming in because people are just coming to see me and listening to what I have to say now, even if it's something that I don't necessarily believe. So,
and that was my question about Roseanne. What she's doing sounds like she just wants an audience. And so now these people are giving her what she wants. So whether she believes these things or not, it's like she's just jumped ship and went to this other side, not because she believes this stuff, but because she wants people to listen to her.
I mean, that seems like,
and that's the part where I feel like you should be canceled, because if that's what you're doing, like if you're not like, if it's not like this is who I don't know, that part seems shady.
Well, Penny, you said we had a couple more that you were.
Well, I know we're getting pressed on time, but I was going to actually bring up the fact that brands are also getting canceled. Just because of maybe what they put on their product, like Bud Light, Aunt Jemima syrup, like that got canceled recently. And Dove soap was also listed on there for some reason. But even bands are changing their name to be appropriate with culture. So have we taken that too far?
Yes.
I mean,
there's some pretty funny, like even Saturday Night Live had some funny skits about like the Aunt Jemima thing.
Yeah.
I think it was like John Chris did a joke about this, like white people trying to solve racism.
Yes.
We're going to change the name of our band. Well, what's your band name? Lady Antebellum. Okay, well that's okay. So what do you change it to? Lady A. All right. Well, what does the A stand for? Well, Antebellum. Right. like that didn't solve anything. And who was getting all up in arms really because their name was, I don't know.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier about the virtue signaling. We're like, we don't support this, and you're like, but you didn't support it when you named your name. That it's not just because that's in your name, it doesn't mean I did not know what that word was, for the record, until that band came out, and I'm like, oh, this is something.
Yeah. Well, I think like the Bud Light thing, like this. First of all, I don't really like Bud Light, but second of all, that company owns like. So they were talking about like Modelo became the #1 brand of beer in America. Well, guess who owns Modelo?
The same company.
The same company that owns Bud Light. So that's that uneducated thing. Like, oh, we're not drinking Bud Light anymore. We're drinking Modelo. And I'm like, okay, well, Modelo is owned by the same company. So you just moved, and it's more expensive. So you're actually giving them more money than you were when you were buying your Bud Light, but it's the same company.
Right.
But, a quick, simple like Google search would have told you that. But it was like, no, that mob mentality took over before anybody even did it. Now, the other side of it is like, when I look at the Bud Light thing, of course it worked out because the other brands that Bud Light owns is now taking off, so they're still good. But like, there was a short period of time before that happened where you boycotting this is actually affecting these workers at these factories. So you're not hurting Bud Light. They're just letting people go who actually are being affected by this. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is there's not a brand. I mean, there are some. There are very few brands that we could honestly say they're doing everything on the up and up. It's like, oh, we boycott Target because of this, so we're going to go to Walmart now. Well, Walmart has been known for years where they get their clothes from, and most of it's like sweatshops in foreign countries.
Yeah.
So, we're boycotting this company because somebody in their upper office made a statement or they did an ad or whatever. So we're going to boycott them because of this issue, but now we're going to go to this other company that we know like is getting their clothes from these places. That's why they're so cheap. So it's like, all right, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seems hypocritical across the board.
There you go.
Well, I don't know. I didn't really want to get into any of that, but I don't like that. It really kind of reflects more of our society as a whole, where for some reason, we have just splintered into two groups, and it doesn't even, there's left and right, there's Democrat, Republican, but then there's like anything like this where people, they pick their side and then they're so upset with the other side just because they're on the other side. So we're
in a culture where we want everybody to be perfect and to say exactly what we want, but we don't want that we don't want people to hold us to that standard. And that's the hypocrisy of it. That's the whole, that's the whole Jesus mentality of it, of treat others the way you'd want to be treated. So I expect you to get everything right, say everything right, not do anything that offends me. And the moment you do, I love Dave Chappelle and his stand-up where he opens with that, like, and I can't get into what he actually says, but it's pretty funny.
He was also, quote, canceled, and then he's, more popular than ever.
Yeah. So it's like, that's the hypocrisy of it is, you got to do it all like this or I'm going to cancel you, but don't hold me to that standard.
Right.
And it's like, well, the problem is the second you break that standard, somebody else is going to look at you and be like, I expected you to say and do everything right, and you didn't. And so it's just this vicious cycle of like, yeah.
It's madness. Penny, did you have?
I have a question. This is dumb. Is America the only place that's doing this? Or is this like across the world that we're cancel culture?
Europe, I think, has a little bit of it, but I think it's one of those things where we're so comfortable here. Like
it's a bubble.
I know that the economy and there's trouble with housing and there's troubles all around. But for the most part, once we got into a society where we don't have to, the norm, like the averages, we don't have to worry about where our next meal is or what we're going to do the next day. People started looking for things to do. And I think you start really getting too comfortable and then you got to do something. And what can we do? But that's Paul's opinion.
No, I think there's cancel culture other places. I think, certain places, if they don't like what you do, they just kill you. So, we don't have to, we don't have to worry about
cancel.
Yeah, or you really get canceled in certain societies and cultures. And I say that like as a joke, but also that's real. Like that's what happens. And then I think the other side of it is the whole and I always say this, like I believe in free speech, okay? But I also believe this. I believe when they put that in there, they had no foresight of what was going to come. That there would eventually be a platform where not only do you have free speech, where everybody can see that free speech. Right. They had no context for that type of world. So they give us this right, but then there's no responsibility in our culture attached to it. We just have the right to say what we want, And that's a huge problem when you can say whatever you want. And so cancel culture also kind of came out of that was people are saying all these things and there is no accountability, so we just cancel them, you know? And so it's like a double-edged sword, really, when you think about it like that.
Well, do we want to do it? What does Jeremy think?
I mean, we kind of just did.
Okay.
I mean, we can.
Yeah.
I like the topic, but no, I mean,
Let's get a.
What does Jeremy think?
I kind of do an addendum to the question that I put out there. So, what is, as I know you don't like the term pastor, but you know, the leader of the church, in the church in general, what do we do? What is our role in society when people are quick to cancel and we're walking on eggshells with things we say and do like that? Do we have?
yeah, I think the big problem. So the quick answer would be: we live in a culture where everybody knows what we're against, nobody knows what we're for. And I think that's the problem, is that everybody knows what the church is against, what Christians are against, because we cancel it, we boycott it, we tweet about it, we post about it, but then nobody ever knows what we're for. And I think that's the bigger problem, is we're supposed to be known what we're for, not what we're against. And, you know, I think that we're supposed to be known for, you know, love and grace and second chances and, you know, to offer, you know, hope to the world, you know, and I think that's the biggest problem, is that, you know, it doesn't take long to figure out what a Christian's against or what a church is against or that type of thing. But how long does it take you to figure out what they're actually for other than themselves? And I think that's the bigger problem.
I mean, that's very well said. We have a whole podcast full of there's some ridiculousness and then some debate, and then there's just something beautiful and well said at the end. So that, I mean,
It's like a Ted Lasso quote down
There
there.
you go. Yeah.
that's really good. Well, I think that's it for this week. I know coming up we've got Fall Fest next month. If you're a local listener to the show, September 30th in the Shepherdsville City Park. We've got lots of other stuff going on at the church. If you check out our website, journeyshepherdsville.com, if you have any questions you would like to send our way, any topics you'd like to discuss, you can send that to Paul at journeyshepherdsville.com. And then until next time.
Well, if you choose to cancel us, just know we don't care.
Yes, that's...
I
wow.
care.
No, they're not going to
You
cancel
can cancel
us.
Jeremy if you want.
No, I'm not going to care. We're going to keep doing it.
Okay.
We cancel Jeremy, and then the new podcast is Penny for Your Thoughts, where she gets on and just
Oh,
says
I like it.
whatever
I like
she's
it.
Awesome.
got to say. So thanks again, everybody, for listening.